All right, the property prequel, be in the know before you buy, trying to add some value out there to the buyer community, anyone in that real estate space. It's cranking at the moment, 2024, where this will be dropping, I'd say, after Easter. I'm recording this pretty much at Easter, and well and truly Q1 is pumping. So we've got a bit of a pro on standby today to have a chat too, which will give us some really good insight on, I guess, the projection of the market moving into, Q2, Q3, Q4. But firstly, Q&A. We had the Q&A last week, so I really appreciate anyone chucking those questions through. It was a really good episode and hopefully a lot of value added. So stay on the lookout if you do want your questions answered. Follow us, Matt_Srama. Send your questions through and we'll answer those. But today, our guest, Michael Bacon, he's up at Place Kangaroo Point in Brizzy. He sells, I don't know how many per year or what the volume is, but let's just say a lot. He's got a really cool backstory too. Does a lot in the marketing space. So we're going to touch on some things here where I think it's going to not only add value to people who are renovating and looking at like some high-end spec home, like what do the buyers want? We'll talk around the market. We'll talk around how to market your property effectively, and just a bit of a backstory because he's crushing it. So Michael, mate, thanks for being here.
Awesome. Love it. Thanks for having me.
Mate, no worries at all. Super quick, because we're just chatting off air. I always love a quick backstory, and then we'll dive straight into it. Mate, are you from the Rockhampton?
Yeah. Well,
wasn't expecting that.
Oh, no, yeah, not many people. So from country, but I actually grew up in Yeppoon, which is about 20 minutes from there. So people don't know where that is, so I just tell them it's Rocky.
It's Rocky.
yeah.
It's coastline, isn't it?
Coastline.
Yeah. I knew a few mates. I used to play footy with. They're all fishers.
Yeah.
They all love fishing, eh?
Yeah.
So St. Brendan's lad?
St. Brendan's.
Yeah. Good school. And then, mate, made your way down to Brizzy, I'm assuming?
Yeah, back when I was literally finished school. So when I was 18, I think I moved to Brisbane and had no idea about Brisbane. Didn't even know where like Brisbane CBD was.
Yeah, really?
Didn't know different areas.
Yeah.
Had $220 to my name.
Wow.
Moving to Brisbane, so that was a pretty big risk.
So how old were you here when you said that?
Now?
No, sorry, when you moved in.
Yeah. So I was 18.
18,
yeah.
fresh out of school.
Out of school, yeah.
What drew you to Brisbane?
More opportunities, yeah. I think Yeppoon's great. It's a nice town, but there's not much going on in my opinion.
Yeah.
No disrespect to everyone from Yeppoon, I still like it.
Yeah.
But Brisbane, for people sort of my age, I think there's a lot more opportunities there. So
Yeah. And then the whole real estate, were you born and I want to be a real estate agent, or was this?
No.
How did this come about?
I've always been creative. So actually, I was going to do a Bachelor of Design. So I got accepted actually at the Gold Coast to do a Bachelor of Design. So interior design, graphic design, product design, all that sort of stuff. But I said, I don't want to spend 4 years doing that and wait another 4 years down the track. And I'm already in my late 20s before I can start actually getting a decent career.
Yeah, okay.
So I just thought real estate's been an interest of mine. And actually when I helped mum move back in, I would have been 10. Yeah. I was the one who actually found the houses first.
Yeah,
I actually quite enjoyed it.
So you were a buyer's agent at 10 years old?
Yeah. So, and that sort of triggered me. I just like the interest of doing it.
Yeah.
And I think the fact a lot of people said I was too young to do it, and then that sort of triggered me to prove a point. And I was like, okay, well, stuff for you guys. I'm going to do real estate now. So
give it a crack. How good. We had Michael Colossi on the other week, and he started off as a receptionist, believe it or not. Yeah. What about yourself? Where did you just go straight?
So I started as a leverage agent. So I started as a leverage agent an office. Same with the same company, with Place. So I started with them just on the different office on the north side. So I was there for about 12 months. So my role was heavily doing a lot of prospecting, bringing in business.
Yeah.
So I used to prospect different farm areas or different areas for other agents. I getcha. And I did, in the first 12 months, I think I did 187 appraisals, which is insane. So I used to just be very good on the phone. And it's different now. I was actually having this conversation to one of my clients this morning. it's different people getting in the industry now because, in my opinion, it's a lot easier. There's so much more access to data, and to details where we have to go through white pages, actually knock on people's door, which a lot of people don't typically do anymore.
Interesting.
So a lot of the sort of dynamics have changed a lot.
But, interesting. So that career then, obviously going through the ranks, you found a bit of a passion for it. Just quickly on the industry, obviously a lot of people listening to this are interested in property.
Yep.
Not so much going into the career, but
Yep.
what's an insight into work, like people who love it, think about, I know so many people, I'm sure you do too, they're always asking like, what's it like in the industry? They love property, they're good at it, they buy and sell themselves. They're like, look, I'm not happy at my job. I want to maybe look at the industry.
Yep.
Just quickly on that, what's your take on the industry as a whole?
It's very competitive, I think, the industry.
Yeah.
But I think the biggest thing I always say to a lot of my, I guess, team and stuff too is I say, don't be an agent, just be a human, which I think is one of my biggest things because there's so many, I guess, perceptions of real estate agents, which doesn't help us at the end of the day. But I think if you have a genuine interest in property or that you love doing some sort of aspects in property and you like talking to people, you'll do well. Because at the same time, if you just, I always say this, if you're not an agent, if you're a human being, if you communicate to people, be honest and do the right thing by people, then you'll be very successful. And also, it's not a 9 to 5. So if you put the hours in, then you'll be okay.
Yeah.
So
100%. Mate, I want to just take the story quickly into so your career's taken off. You're starting to now market some really good property, right? I feel we're in a place now where everyone wants to flip and sell. A lot more people, like we've interviewed so many people who are crushing it in the industry. And the biggest feedback we get is always identifying what buyers are wanting to try and maximize the obviously end price. So we might just touch on there for a second. So mate, give us an idea right now, we're in 2024. What has been the biggest change you felt from buyers back in, say, 2022, 2023, now moving into 23, 24?
Yep. I think from a buyer's perspective, one thing that I've seen change a lot is a lot more people. Well, I think there was two things. One, we were impacted by COVID from one thing.
Yep.
A lot of buyers went from looking at bigger pastoral parts of land to go out of town for more space because of COVID.
Yeah.
Since that's occurred, a lot of people said, well, we're too busy to actually maintain the yard, the space. Realistically, the kids are never actually in the yard because they're always at sports or doing things. And, you know, a lot of people are unfortunately on their phones these days. So a lot of that's changed, I think. So that's changed a lot since COVID. And then since we've gone back to a bit of normality after COVID, people have started going back into town on smaller lots, but brand new. So because one, they don't have time to do the maintenance. Two, they don't, unless it depends on the buyer too.
Yes.
But what I've noticed, a lot of people who've done going out of town for more space have come back closer into town, but on a smaller lot house that's brand new.
Yeah.
So that's something that's been very common. And I also think it's just different. I think because construction costs are very high at the moment too, that does deter some people.
Yeah.
So it just depends on the type of buyer too.
Yeah, it's a really good point you make there, Michael, and I can definitely testify to that, especially on the Gold Coast. One thing I've noticed is you nailed it there. The cost of construction to the average buyer, they don't understand. Like it's way more.
Yeah.
Like crazy.
Yep.
So the appetite to do your renovation and things like that, it's ruling a lot of buyers out. So the turnkey stuff, move straight in, it's all done.
Yeah.
And also working with so many buyers as a buyer's agent, I feel that too, actually. People want low maintenance, right?
Yeah.
Low maintenance.
Yep.
So, all right, now tip to people who might be going through a project to try and appeal to these buyers, because there's a lot of people doing really well. What would be sort of 2 to 3 big things you think to, I guess, be mindful for these people going through maybe a build to sell?
Yep. I think be prepared. So I think a lot of people think they get the perception that it's easy. It's not. And they might hear different people doing very well, or very good builder developers, or family friends that have done a few renovations, but they were 10 years ago. Yeah. So I think be prepared. Like, one, if you get a decent builder. Yeah. 2, you're actually locked your builder in. Or 3, you've actually got really good contacts if you're doing a renovation. Because if you're not prepared, people I see buy properties to do a project or renovate or knock down, rebuild. but then they don't have a builder. They don't have clients. They can't get landscapers. They can't get enough people in because
True.
a lot of those, like people, like prime example in Brisbane, landscapers take a very long time at the moment. Same with a lot of different people in those construction sort of industries. Is I think the biggest one is being prepared, in my opinion, and actually work out who's on your bus with you for the journey. So
Love it.
basically, have you got the builder? Okay, great. Have you got someone? Have you got a cabinet maker? Have you got a landscaper? What type of renovation do you want to do? Do you have to go through the council? Do you not have to go through the council? Do you have a good town planner? So I think the more people that are prepared, the better outcome they're going to get. And look, the construction costs are obviously a lot higher than normal and they are taking a bit longer. But as long as they're patient and they do project for that their holding costs might be a bit more, they're still going to do okay because people at the moment, in my opinion, there's a lot more people that are looking at brand new houses.
Yes.
And they're going to pay more for that. So even though your construction costs are up and you've just got to be prepared to actually just cover that difference while you're doing the renovations or you're doing the new build, you might get the return at the end. But it's also correct. And it's also dealing with professionals. So if they're going to do a build to sell or whatever it might be, deal with people like yourself or someone like myself that's going to be selling that product at the end because you need to know the feedback now for 12 months' time when you're selling it.
Yeah.
And the amount of, like a lot of my week, to be honest, is I catch up with people who are building in 12 to 18 months. So they're not ready now, but I'll be sitting through their plans and might get 5-6 different emails from different clients each week. Hey, Michael, what do you think about this? What do you think about this? Hey, this is great. But little things like, hey, change your door frame around this way because it actually, like there's so many just little tiny things that you can pick up. So I think the biggest one is being prepared.
Yeah.
And two, obviously getting the right people on your bus with you.
I love that. Being prepared with the right people on the bus.
Yeah.
I love it. Because it's like if you've got a destination to go to, you need to know where you're going, but you need to have the good people on board.
Yeah.
And get them on early.
Yeah.
That's very, very good point.
Yep.
Mate, what's your feedback or what are you finding the difference between the ones who are crushing it and the ones who maybe first time or second time? What's some tips to those people? So these are the people who are, hey, Michael, check out this build I'm going through. And there's some people who just nail it straight away. What do you think they're doing differently to the ones who aren't crushing it?
I think you got to find your niche. So I think there's different types of developers, right? There's some or builders or people doing it themselves.
Yeah.
Like if it's their first project or if it's their first renovation, don't bite off more than you can chew. And I usually say that a lot to people is bite off more than you can chew. But then I think in this scenario, don't try go all out on your first one because you're going to learn from it.
Yeah.
So you do your first one, you look what happened last time. Okay, well, this is the negative feedback that we had. How can we improve that and how can we fix it for the next one? The best thing is to get a lot of feedback beforehand too.
Yeah.
But I think because of social media doesn't help, a lot of people compare themselves to big names or big developers or big builders that do it consistently day in, day out, where they've got the same staff members they've been working with from architects, all that sort of stuff from the last 5 years, that they're all on the same page. And if you're starting out, I think you're going to make some mistakes to learn from it. But I also think that it's just, again, going back to the preparation, I think, at the same time. But don't overcapitalize because I see a lot of people think, oh, well, what about, this for the kitchen and this? I'm like, hey, it's not relevant for your market.
Yeah.
And it's going back to the niche. So are we targeting, if it's a new build, okay, great. How much is it going to cost? Is it a small lot? Okay, the build cost might be 1 to 1.2 for a small lot.
Yeah.
Great. What's our resale price? Okay, it might be high 2s, for example. Okay, or like if we're pushing into the 3s, well, this is the quality that you have to do.
Yeah.
So you need to find your niche. Hey, do you want to take that risk to go to the next price point?
Yeah.
Which, we've got to be very aggressive behind the marketing. Or are we going to play it safe for the first one and then learn from it and move on for the next one?
Improve.
So I think it's also knowing your niche, what sort of people you want to target from the end result.
Yeah.
So
it's a good point.
Yeah.
I've got a question for you on that as well, on like the capitalizing on what to, because one thing I'm finding, like you said it there, right? Like some property, you're marketing to a certain segment of the market, right? Working with so many buyers are picky. Buyers can pick. Buyers can pick when it's a cheap versus an expensive type job, or if they've used this type of material versus that. Where do you feel the most capital uplift play within a property? Like if there was 2 or 3 areas of the home that if you're trying to attract premium price, where do you feel you shouldn't be skimping on the spaces?
I think probably attention to detail is one thing, but also like, again, it's just main areas. Like, so your 80% zone that I call it. So I always say to people when you walk through a property, okay, what's your 80% zone? So where's 80% of the time that you're spending in your property?
Staying in, yeah.
Great. Ours would be kitchen, living, dining, outdoor to the pool. Fantastic. So that's where you need to spend your time. Master bedrooms, massive thing at the moment too.
It is.
People don't have, like a lot of us have a lot of clothes now. So if you don't have a decent, like, and I say on the new build floor plans, about like 1/3 of the floor plan upstairs should be your master bedroom, in my opinion. So, because it's a decent size, but then you need a massive walk-in robe because that's very important to a lot of people now too.
Yes.
So if they're buying
very
something
true.
new, they do want, almost everything tick their boxes.
Yeah.
And not like from a buying perspective, you're not going to find something that is 100%. I always say it's like, to a lot of clients, hey, if your kids get 90% on a maths test, are you happy? They said, yeah, okay, great. It's the same with buying a property. You might build, but they're like, oh, if we build a property, yeah, but if you're going to build something, and this is the conversations we have with buyers saying, hey, we're looking at blocks, but we're also looking at brand new. Hey, look, in my opinion, you're better off buying something brand new because depending on, unless they're prepared and they've done the research, which 90% of them haven't. So
True.
unless they've got people to help them through that process too. Yeah. So it makes more sense to buy something brand new, in my opinion, than getting a block of land and waiting for build costs. If they haven't got a builder, they're not prepared, buy something
all the
new.
right people. Yeah.
And then they say, but we can get 100%. Then I said, no, we know you can't because when you finish your build, 99% of people said, I wish I did this.
Yeah.
So, and you learn from it for the next one.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things. And similar to like your job, you're dealing with probably a lot more depends on how many buyers and stuff too. But, I think from a buying perspective, and it might be from your job, it's not about getting the best property for them or the best deal. It's about finding the right property.
100%.
And I think more people have to be open to that too.
Yeah.
So.
I always say, like, some buyers really focus on, like, I always say, like, don't focus on just the next property, focus on the right property.
Yeah.
And we're in a market at the moment where I feel the ability to buy strong today to avoid paying tomorrow is more relevant because a lot of people are still trying to focus on buying yesterday. Yeah. And what happens is they end up paying tomorrow's price because they just keep chasing the tail. Yeah. Would you agree with that?
There's so many people that we deal with that could have bought something 12 months ago and then they said, but that was 12 months. Yeah, but don't, like, to me, you need to focus on now.
Yeah.
So why are you buying? Why is it relevant? Okay, well, why are you moving? Go back to the why.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but you still get some people like that take ages.
Yeah.
To make it, which is fair enough. But you need to work out, okay, why are we buying now? What's our end goal? Hey, if we feel like we're paying a bit much now, why is it relevant down the track? Because this is our plan. If we're here for 5 years, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You're still going to get that growth. So,
what's your tip, Michael, on those buyers? Right, I'm sure you've got a few. You list a lot of property, and you see the same buyer month on month on month.
Yeah.
What do you think they're doing wrong?
I think there's a couple of things. One, too many people in their ear.
Yeah.
To tell them to make a decision.
Love it.
2, they actually need to be clear on what they're buying. And also 3, they just need to, I think, depends on the buyer. Like a lot of the people I deal with is majority new builds. So a lot of the stock that I've got is typically a lot more higher end, newer product. A lot of the same people we deal with, prime example, one couple, they've been trying to buy one of this developer's stock for 12 months. And almost 2 years. Jeez. And they could have bought a product for literally 2.4 million 2 years ago, but now they're spending 3.45 on the same size block.
Yeah.
High spec home.
Yeah.
But the market's moved. So I said, you're just chasing your own tail.
Yes.
So, and some people like that, they might not, in my opinion, be ready to make a move. Or again, they're not going back to their why.
Yeah.
Okay, what are you dissatisfied with your current home at the moment? Or if they're coming from a property or wherever they might be, what are you dissatisfied with? Oh, we're dissatisfied with this. Okay, well, why don't we find that in the next property? Something that you are satisfied with. Oh, this is too small. Great. Well, here's a solution. Go out and fix it. So I think they just need to be guided by the right people.
Yeah.
And And it's also hard too because it depends how much stock's on the market too.
Yeah.
So at the moment, there has been a bit more stock hit the market. From a buyer's perspective, that's a good option. So,
Yeah.
but it's also confusing for some people when they look at 7, 8, 9 different properties on
Yeah.
the
I
weekend.
was going to say it's like me at the gelato store. Hey, I just go in there and I'm come out with nothing because I've got too many options.
You get overwhelmed. That's what it is. Yeah.
Mate, I love it. Mate, what about in terms of, mate, it's such a good topic. I love it because so many people are trying to make a thing out of property and so do well. Like there's actually a very few, everyone sees the ones who are crushing it, but
Correct.
there's a lot of people who have done one and they didn't make a dollar or lost money, right?
Yep.
What do you feel that, like over the next, building supplies, costs, all those things are high. What's your take, Southeast Queensland, over the next sort of 6 months? Like, do you think there's opportunity, both sides, for buyers and sellers?
Yep.
What's your opinion on both sides over the next 6 months?
Yeah, 100%. I think from like buyers and sellers, I think one, from a buying perspective, you've got to, it's the market now. So like if there's blocks of land in areas that I sell in Brisbane there, you're paying early ones for a small lot for 405 block. Okay, well, if people are complaining about that, well, the prices and the cost are lifting up the values of what they sell for at the end anyway. So it's not that relevant. Like it all, if you can do it well, you can do it. Construction costs are the new normal.
Yes.
Like so many people, it's been on for 2 years. Like so many people say, they're going to come back. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Don't look at buying.
Yeah.
Like respectfully, if you're not educated enough to realise that that's the new norm. So construction costs aren't coming off. They've been the same consistently. Yes, they go up and down a little bit, but at the same time, like the reason why people that are killing it is because they've been doing it for 10 to 20 years.
Yes.
Well, like whatever it might be, they've got the right contacts in the fields to reduce the cost.
Yeah.
Or they might be building it themselves to reduce the cost.
Yeah.
So there's different ways, and keep in mind that's their full-time job.
Yes.
So that's what they do best.
Yes.
They're
All
professional
their time
in
and
that.
energy
Yeah,
is
correct.
for it. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think in the market at the moment, I think is still steady. It has, in my opinion, slowed a tiny bit as opposed to where it was 12 months ago, but the prices are still increasing. So it just depends what people are buying and what outcome they want to get at the end of the day.
Yeah, love it. Mate, lastly on this topic, buyers, right? What is the most common negative feedback you get from buyers with some of these turnkey properties you list?
Probably the biggest negative is a lot of them saying that if we were to build it ourselves, we would do it differently, but they're not. So, but
I'm giggling because it's a funny one. Like I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. It just depends on the property. Like small lots, for example, a lot of small lot homes, they're similar size internally to some 607 blocks as opposed to 400 blocks. So they've been able to capitalise an internal size, but people complain that it's not big enough outside, but then they don't use the outside space anyway, and they can't afford to go to the next price range. So that's probably the biggest objection I get all the time with buyers that I'm dealing with is saying, hey, if they're looking at a small lot, you're paying high twos, for example, for a small lot home, brand new, or you're paying 3.5 for a 607 block, but realistically that might be 10 square metres bigger internally. So they're actually a very similar internal size. You've just got bigger backyard space.
Yeah.
And it's like going back to how frequently do you actually use a yard space?
Yeah.
Oh, we use it all the time. 90% of the time they don't.
Yeah.
It's like people say, I want to be close to cafes and walk to.
Yeah.
And when I ask people, okay, well, when's the last time you've actually walked to your cafe?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, it's sad as that is.
Yeah,
it's just being realistic.
Yeah.
So I think, I think the market at the moment's still pretty steady.
Yeah.
I think you just got to buy well. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
So if
100%.
people are buying development or land, if they want a land bank or something or do a renovation, it just comes down to what you pay for it.
Yeah.
And some people unfortunately get it wrong. You know, it happens. You know, one of the clients, what was this, 12 months ago, they bought a block for 1.2 in the peak of the market. Probably worth $1 million now. They paid 1.2 for the build cost and they sold and broke even.
Yeah.
So, which is not worth that whole hassle of, 6 to 12 months of doing that.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the key thing, right? Like people to understand that it's a get rich slow, first of all, but secondly, it's cyclical, right?
Yep.
Because I see some people who have crushed it and they've gone through maybe one or two of those, but the resilience has kept them going and because their why and their purpose is strong, right? That sort of project or something, like I hear some people say property is probably not for me and they'll never do it ever again, right? So that's a really good point because it's all cyclical. That's one thing. I really love, probably the biggest thing I took away from the last few minutes has been being prepared with the right people on the bus. I 100% agree with that. It's a team sport, making money in property.
Yeah.
It's a team sport. Really love that. And then the third one I really love, you mentioned, Michael, is around people really need to ask themselves before going out to search, like, what is more important? Is it the dwelling or the location? Is it what do we need? The backyard? Like getting super clear. Hey, I definitely agree with that too. I think people go out and look for property with no clear purpose on what they actually want.
Yeah. Oh, I see it all the time. But it's also interesting because I think people, and this, every time it's all about location and area you're in.
Yeah.
I feel like that's changing heaps now. So I feel like a lot of people that we're actually dealing with is they're not too concerned about what area it's in. Like I call them like suburb snobs, in my opinion. People that have been in the area for 20 odd years, if they would buy and sell and move all the time, upsize, downsize in the same area. But now a lot of those people have started to change, which is interesting because that would never happen.
Interesting.
So I think because what they want is not available, they have to go to different areas. So people are looking for a lot of the newer build stuff or, new product. They don't care what area it's in as much anymore. They're actually more concerned about the house.
Yeah.
So as long as it's in, more people are working from home. So like, okay, well, we're not going to those types of areas. Yes, it's still close to the schools, all that sort of stuff. You're still within that, 5 kilometre radius, but we're not specifically staying in one area anymore, which is interesting because
it is interesting.
Typically never used to be like that.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
I remember we interviewed MacTech. He's a renowned builder here on the Gold Coast, and his main philosophy was around creating home because creating home is a space you don't have to leave.
Yep.
Like that was always his philosophy because people are putting more wellness type facilities inside their homes. Working from home spaces are top notch now.
Yep.
So after COVID, you're exactly right. Like a lot of the mindset is slowly shifting. So I guess that's really good feedback to someone out there who is wanting to profit on the future buyers of today.
Yep.
It's having a look at, making
Those
sure
points.
that dwelling ticks the boxes.
Well, it's even like in the high res space, you look at developers like Aria.
Yeah.
So they do heaps, like one of the top dogs in Brisbane on what they do. And they're, like you said, in that wellness space. So they're top, they're stepping up next level. Their facilities are amazing. They've got 6-star techno gyms. They've got amazing rooftops, 2-level rooftops, pools, like saunas, steam rooms, everything. They're creating that whole thing of like, hey, this is your new home. But for example, they've got that niche, which is so different, but the apartments are still relatively small.
Yeah.
They're still decent quality. People are going there for that specific product, not because of the area.
Yeah.
So
they're
want
getting
that.
all their boxes
Correct.
ticked in the,
Yeah.
Really good point. Mate, I want to touch on marketing for a second because that's how I seen you, and that's marketing, right? Your reach and reputation. And I feel for yourself, Michael, and it's a good one. Anyone listening, check out Michael's page because the way you're marketing property at the moment, this could be really good value, not only to buyers, but eventual sellers who want to point a difference in the market. Mate, what's your mindset with, I guess, your marketing and the whole with the real estate space?
Yeah, I saw a massive niche of it probably about 4 years ago.
Yeah.
I think it was when Reels started becoming a thing, and I remember TikTok when that came out. I was like, oh, what is this TikTok? And I've only started to get some traction on TikTok, but it's like I guess put it this way: we're in a modern world.
Yeah.
There's two things I always say in property, or even whatever business that you're in, you're a walking signboard. So however you want to be portrayed and however you want to look, that's an electronic signboard for you that's running all the time. And also the other thing is that's your electronic business card. So like we're past the day and age where like you still get people hand out business cards, but that's your business card.
People are sussing your profiles now.
Correct.
Hey?
Yeah. But that's how it is, and that's how it'll continue to grow down the track too. So I saw there was a massive gap years ago, and we just jumped on it. Yeah. So with my videographers and stuff, it's just creating something different too. And it's like it's past the point because I'm fortunate that I deal with a lot of like very well known people and people that kill the industry that they're in, and I think a lot of people that I know in that social front, I just kept asking questions. Okay, well, why are you doing this and why are you doing that? And people just don't capitalize it. Like people post photos in front of a signboard, like respectfully, no one gives a shit. No one cares. Like you look at the engagement levels, like the people commenting are the people that work with them. Like it's sad as it is. And I just looked at that. I'm like, and that's what one of my clients said. I actually had 2 Instagram pages originally. I had my personal page. I think I had like Michael Bacon Real Estate or something. And they run an industry basically. Well, it's Sabo Skirt. So Thessie, one of my really good clients, and good friends. Her and her partner Georgia, who runs a very successful business too. I remember them saying to me years ago, "We don't care about you in front of a signboard. We want you." But then I sort of thought, okay, well, how can I incorporate me in properties and start marketing differently? So, and that's where I started to create this whole niche on, I guess, being very aggressive on videos and all that sort of stuff. And, you know, that's why a lot of people, I do get a lot of leads and sell properties from Instagram and all that sort of stuff, which is interesting and at a higher level too.
Interesting.
So how I actually listed one of my, my most expensive property, which is 18 months ago or something, Laidlaw Parade, the Black Gucci house on the water, for 12.5 million that we sold. Like that was on the market with another agent for, 18 months and had 4 people through. Yeah. And I literally reached out to the builder via Instagram, DM'd him. Quade Cooper. Yeah. Sold his place years ago. I DM'd him on Instagram. Yeah. So and and that was on the market with someone else too. Yeah. Like you never know where the opportunity is going to come from. And I think it's not as bad like directly messaging people and clients on Instagram. One of my top clients who's a billionaire, I lost contact with them because they sacked, this is 3 years ago, they sacked one of their PAs. So I didn't have their personal number. So then I was like, well, she actually had Instagram and I actually reached out to her on Instagram. Yeah. And I've sold 6 properties for them. And helped them purchase probably almost 50 million worth of property too. So you never know where the opportunity is going to come from. But I think from a marketing standpoint, regardless of what business you're in, if it's in real estate, if you've got personal branding, if you're not pumping things on social media and Instagram and even Facebook ads and all this sort of stuff, well, you're missing a massive part in your business. Mate,
I want to touch on you said it there, like big part of your business. So you've obviously, this is what I hear with a lot of people who might be going through the renovation stage or even people in the industry that want to gain traction is they don't have time. But you're saying it's part of your business. So where do you allocate time for exposure, like running an attraction business?
You've got to make time. In my opinion, that's probably my biggest pet hate in life is when people say they're too busy. Or they don't have time to do something because in my opinion, it's being lazy. So I don't have time. Okay, great. Make time. Yeah. Or if you don't, not priority. I don't know. I've been in the industry for 20 years or my kids are on TikTok and Instagram. I'm not great. Get them to do it for you. Yeah. So it's like you always get an objection. You've got to overcome it. And in my mind, that people say they don't have time or something, it's just laziness. Or some people don't know how to do it, which is fair enough. Get someone in the business that knows how to do it. I run all my social media. Yeah. So I'm the only one who's got a login account. I don't have a team that runs it. Yeah. So I've got a team that does majority of the videos and we come up with concept details with each other all the different time. But I run it all myself. Some people that I know that do well on it, they don't run it, which is fair enough. But that's why it makes it my page and that's why I get the engagement is because it's me. Yeah, it's not someone else doing it. It's not the basic. People get people to employ, obviously to run pages and stuff, and then some of them I look at, I'm like, oh, okay, that's different. But some of them are just the same crap. A testimonial, okay, great, turn it into a short form content instead of a photo. You're not going to get the same traction. So it's just they need to, I think, definitely invest more time in it and do reels. Reels are a killer. You never know. Like I went to Bali and filmed me walking through a property in Bali I was staying at and they got 800,000 views and 23,000 send-ons. Yeah. And I was like, I didn't expect that. And then the client the guy who owns it, got him 19 bookings from that. Wow. And I didn't ask for anything out of it. I just wanted it for content.
Just like leverage.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. And now he's like, oh, you can come stay there whenever you want. I'm like, great. But it's a whole point of, a point of difference too. So, and especially because I was going in, because I went from a market where I was selling 90 to 100 properties a year. So I went from a very volume-based business of selling $500,000 apartments and being in a very niche market and, farming my area. And I said, do you know what? I want to change. I want to go into the higher end market. And then Laidlaw, I sold a couple of $3-4 million ones occasionally. But then going and get Laidlaw, when I was still up against two other agents, and just showing the point of difference through social media and just, I guess, new energy into the team could do that. And I think that property, we produced 7 to 9 videos.
On the one property?
One property, yeah. Which reached 1.6 million people. Realestate.com, you probably would have got 40,000.
Interesting.
So it's about the more eyes, and it's about creating hype. So I always say to a lot of people, it's about creating hype around a property. So it doesn't matter if they're not buyers. It's about knowing that every time someone sees some sort of thing about your property, they know it's your property. So it's similar to with a lot of developers I deal with, is saying, hey, it's not just about selling your property. It's also about, one, you want more branding on your business too.
Yeah,
correct?
Yeah.
Great. Well, we can do that.
Yeah.
So
creating that brand equity.
Yeah, which is important because then they might have 3, 4, 5 different projects coming up.
Yeah.
And then like, oh, it's their project. Yeah, we're familiar with them. We've seen them on social.
Interesting.
But if they don't know who you are, the new buyers, they're not looking on your website.
Yeah.
They're looking on social media.
Yeah.
They search it. Same thing if we go to a restaurant. I don't know if you guys do it. I do.
Yeah.
Go to a restaurant booking. I want to see what they're like. Okay, cool.
Check
I might
out
look
the
at
photos, the gram.
Go on the gram. You see what it looks like. It's like, and it's the new generation too, which is it's scary in my opinion because one of my friends, she used to basically go. I asked her to Google something. She went on TikTok and Googled. I said, "What are you doing? That's not Google." But then that's real answers versus sponsored ads too. So this is the thing. It's so interesting. Like even when I went to Bali, the same scenario. I went on TikTok and said, "What are the best food places to eat?" I wanted a acai bowl for breakfast. Great, they gave me that. If I Googled it, you get hit with sponsored ads. So all the ads are at the top, but they might not be the best. That's real feedback. So it's sort of interesting to see how I guess a lot of the social front has changed a lot of businesses, in my opinion.
Interesting.
But even for mine as a seller's perspective, we're getting more exposure than, to be honest, 90% or 99% of other agents that are actually marketing your property.
Yeah.
More than the traditional methods, that you just need to do it better.
So it sounds like for these people going through the flip and sell at the moment, they need to put marketing as a key pillar of that property.
Correct. Yeah. So and even it's also about working 2 years in advance. If they're going to do a renovation project, get as much media as you can, even if it's just a mum and dad doing it on the side, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. Because then from a selling agent, that's where you should get the right agent when they're going through that process to tell them, hey, don't overcapitalize. Those things that you're doing is great. Change these floor plans. But it's also, you're already talking about marketing in 2 years.
Yeah.
So there's a couple of people at the Gold Coast now that I know that I'm chatting with, which would be 12, 18 months away, that are in the same journey, just saying, well, we're doing this, but how do we get in a position where our brand in 2 years when we're selling, people are familiar with it?
Yeah.
And it's also, I think, even for them, it's just getting free news, media and press and stuff. Hey, okay, but we don't have the exposure of other big developer brands or building brands. Great, well, you've got to create that. Get photos of before and after, take videos of before and after. I can show you some ways you can, if you want to do your own page and stuff, do that, because a lot of reels through algorithms, if it's organic, you're going to do very well. So if it's off your phone, if it's user generated, they're going to prioritize that.
Yeah.
If there's a transition shot of literally of the bathroom before and after, they get so much attention.
Yeah.
People are going to see it. The same thing, take photos of beforehand during the journey. The media and press love that.
Yeah.
So when we're already working on a 2-year plan to basically sell your property, but we've got the marketing from 2 years ago. So they love those articles. They do very well. Hey, new property
Bit of
in
PR on it.
in Burleigh Heads. These are the old photos. These are the new ones. Oh my God, that's amazing. Boom, you've got free news article from it.
Yeah.
So there's so many just different ways that you can leverage, from a marketing perspective.
Yeah.
So
I really like it. I remember we interviewed Smout Property. That was a really cool app, and Smout are really good, I found, in Brisbane. I don't do anything in Brisbane, but I see their stuff. Same thing. They pre-hype the build through the journey, like a little update of the build. So what I'm hearing there is it's all a strategic approach to try and build attention and hype. So when it does come for sale, you're getting these big open home numbers. And I remember seeing some of your open home numbers like that. Even fairly say a lot of them aren't genuine buyers, but still it's hype.
Yeah. Well, even like the property we launched 2 days ago, we had a VIP night last night of 102 people through.
Wow.
So and it was raining. and we just didn't expect that much. And tomorrow, like we've got, coffee van, you create an atmosphere. So there's a lot more involved to it too. But it's also, we worked 3 months in advance to work out what our social media plan is
strategy
for that property. And 102 people aren't going to buy the property. There's going to be one. Yeah. Realistically, there's probably 3 genuine buyers that were in a position to buy that night.
Yeah.
But they see 3 people and there's, 97, 98 other people there.
Yeah.
You're creating competition.
Yeah.
So where for traditional methods, you can't get the same response.
Yeah.
So
I love it.
And it's, you look at Smout, great example. They used a lot of hype and they've got the right people on the bus to do so. Yeah. They've got a good videographer team. We actually use the same videographers.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
But they were very clear on what they wanted and they were clear on their vision and their brand.
Love it.
So, and in my opinion, they came out of nowhere too.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, and they just, because they've done that very well, they've done the marketing, they created a niche, they've created a name for themselves.
Yeah.
So, and people know who they are now.
I love it, mate. That's going to plug, mate, that much value to buyers out there who want to profit on the back end. Take marketing seriously.
Yeah.
Mate, just the last one. We do get a few, obviously, real estate professionals listening too, and I'm sure you're a bit of a benchmark for them in terms of the marketing space. What would be 2 or 3 of your biggest, I guess, actionable tips in terms of marketing and building more of an attraction business?
Yep. Don't compare yourself to other people. Compare yourself to yourself. Stay in your own lane. Too many people say, people, like I get people that replicate my videos and stuff, which is fine. Good on them for for doing it.
Yeah.
Find out what your own niche is and why. It's like the elevator pitch. Why do people choose you? You need to portray that in the content, the media that you do as well.
Yeah.
So I think for a lot of my stuff that I do, it works well for me. It might not work for someone else.
Yeah.
You need to find out what works well for you.
Yeah.
So I think knowing that is probably the biggest thing, but also get a bit more of a personal front. Like I don't have kids. If you got kids, get kids involved in some of the videos because you're creating, I guess,
relatability.
Correct. With different people. So it's just finding why people will be attracted to you as an agent or whatever it might be and stick to that. Like I've got quite a good sense of humour. So like it's even any meetings I go to, I'll just break the ice instantly. They're like, oh, he's not an agent, he's a human being, which is what I want to portray to some people too. And perception might be a big thing against what reality is for some people, but you've just got to focus on how do you want to be known, and then don't focus on what everyone else is. Oh, did you see that video from someone else? Who cares?
Yeah.
Do your own style.
On you,
but also research too, because a lot of the content ideas, like I might randomly think of, or the team from Pixel might think of, but do research. Like literally, there's so much decent content that's popping up on Instagram or TikTok or whatever it is, and just try think of different ideas. Think outside of the box.
Love it.
So,
and what about in terms of like a weekly or daily schedule in terms of active opportunity? Like in my calendar, I put it as like social media opportunities. So it's shifted my mindset into like, you're right, like there's opportunities everywhere.
Yep.
How much time would you put on opportunist social media time per day?
Yeah, I don't think you can nail down a time. Like for me, a lot of the time I spend a bit more time on socials at night. Because I've got pretty bad OCD, so I actually can't go to bed unless there's 0 notifications on my phone. So like 0 emails, 0 text messages, 0 Instagram messages. So then that's my time where I'm actually reflecting on the day. But it's also, okay, well, what's next? What do I know? And you got to plan it. So it's like we spent 2 days in the Sunshine Coast for a property around 10 million. So even though I typically don't do Sunshine Coast, that's a different market in my opinion, because I'm like, no one's doing the marketing well enough down there. But like there's big agencies down there, but very traditional methods. And I think you've just got to do it. I don't think there's any time that you can actually put aside to it. Like in my opinion, it works better at nighttime, but also you've just got to catch up. And if you don't know, find people that do know about it.
Yeah.
So if it doesn't have to be in real estate, if it's a clothing brand, they're doing well. If it's a gym that's doing well, if it's some other random influencer or something that's doing well, sit down with them and buy them a coffee.
Yeah.
Same with me. If people want advice, I'm always happy to catch up. It's like, okay, well, ask those people that are doing well on that field how they're getting the traction they're getting.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
And people don't know. There's a lot of behind the scene things that you do need to understand a bit about social, but it's not hard.
It's not rocket science.
Yeah, it's not hard.
Seems like you're pretty consistent
Yeah.
too, though. At the end of the day, like I think that's a
You just got to have enough
a
in
big
the
one.
pipeline to do it.
Yeah.
And that's all. Like some things, like I might not have some content some week.
Yeah.
You've got to create it.
Yeah.
Go find something to do.
Make it happen.
Yeah. Go to
Yeah.
a different property, even if it's not yours.
Yeah.
Like one of the guys in our office does that a lot. He does walkthroughs of properties that aren't even his, and he gets paid from them.
Yeah, yeah.
Because he gets good
traction.
Good traction.
It's leverage, isn't it?
Correct. Yeah. But then the perception is people think he sells the properties when he doesn't.
Yeah,
So it's it's a whole perception sort of perspective too.
Interesting.
So
interesting, mate. Just to finish on you as a person, as we wrap up from the key chat we've had, I think some key takeaways I've noticed is you're very resourceful by the sounds of it. So I love people who sounds as though it's not about lack of resources. It's how do you make it happen? You know, you got to be resourceful. What's your mindset each day? Like, are you a habit man? Like, are you productivity? You mentioned a little bit of OCD.
Yep.
Mate, what keeps you performing the way you do?
God, I think I guess you need to be clear on your vision. So where do you want to be? You know, and I think, in my opinion, focus on now. Too many people focus on 5 years. And yes, it's good to be planned, but too many people now reflect back on the past and 5 years, 6 years forward. But people ask me, where do I see myself in 5 years? I have no idea. And some people are very clear on that. I'm not. I think you just need to be very focused on yourself now and what's important to you. Habits-wise and stuff, like one thing that's obviously changed a lot of my probably daily routines is that I've got like a cold plunge and a sauna.
Yeah, give us a
in
quick
my house.
routine. I'm a routine fiend.
Well, I've been out of it after being away for about a month, but basically I'll try get up early in the morning. I've got set up a gym at home now too, so I'll jump on a bike for probably 8 kilometres, turn the sauna on, come back down, have an infrared sauna for 15 minutes, and then jump in the cold plunge for an average of 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So then if I don't do that, even my team know that if I haven't done that during the day, they send me home. Because it affects your mindset.
Yeah.
So, and like something, like, because I'm very, I try to change a lot of that in the last 2 years because I'm a night owl. I just can't sleep. And that's probably ADHD too. But anyway, that's how I come up with 1,000 different ideas.
Yeah.
But I think from that, it's just find out what works best for you. And I think just don't reflect too far forward and reflect on the now and work out what's important.
Yeah. Yeah. And what about in terms of your structure day to day, like keeping that, obviously the energy's got to be strong and high.
Yep.
Where are you placing activities?
Yep.
Certain activities.
Well, you just got to have a right team, I think, that keeps you accountable. So I think one thing we do each morning is a DDM, which is a daily directions meeting.
Love
it. Monday might be a bit longer.
So like a quick little huddle kind of thing?
Like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So Danny is in my team and Chris, Danny's the EA. She's the boss of the team. So she runs everything. So she knows what's going on, who I need to follow up, all that sort of stuff. If you've got the right team to do that, it's good for accountability. If you don't have a team, that's okay. Find someone that can keep you accountable. But I think from that structure-wise to keep you going, you just got to enjoy your job at the end of the day too. And I think because so much as real estate changed, my day and weekly routines sort of completely different to 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Because I used to be so volume-based business that I'm dealing with 90-odd, 100-odd properties a year, which is full on. But in my opinion, I'm dealing with a lot more emotions and that lower end range too.
Yeah.
So a lot of it's changed, but a lot of the time, like I focus on my circle of influence of people, which is a massive thing. So even people starting out is such a huge thing. Like one of the guys driving down here today, I'll probably chat to him 3-4 times a week, and he's one of my top clients.
Yeah.
So and you don't have to, but it's about knowledge too, because I love absorbing knowledge from people on different industries. If it's builders, developers, I probably know a lot more than typically a lot more other people because I ask the right questions.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
love it. Well, mate, just reflecting back, some big things I took away out of you, Michael. As I said, the resourcefulness. I think I love the bus.
Yep.
I love it. Like being prepared and having the right people on the bus, know where you're going. And mate, even from a market perspective, like the power of marketing, leverage. Like you just heard it there first. Like it sounds like a lot of your traction success is coming from putting time and effort into marketing.
Yeah, 100%.
I think
one thing
unreal.
I'll say to people too is a lot of people focus on the followers. It doesn't matter about your followers.
Yeah.
It matters about your content and the engagement.
Yeah.
So some people might not have barely any followers,
They got strong engagement.
But they've got really good engagement.
Yeah, true.
That's way better than having more followers. Like, respectfully, having a lot of followers doesn't mean anything.
I heard it somewhere the other day. It's like, when's the last time you said to yourself, I need to follow more people? I think more than ever, people just either unfollow, like detoxing and just following people or staying in tune with people that are adding value.
Correct.
Back to them.
Yeah. It's also, actually, I forgot about that a couple of years ago, is when I grew a lot of the, going into the higher end market.
Yeah.
Start following your clients.
Yeah.
People might be too scared to. If you're scared to post things, well, don't post.
Yeah. Yeah.
Be genuine about what you're posting too.
Yeah.
So like a lot of my, I forget about that a lot. A lot of people do follow me, and I forget how many clients and buyers actually follow me that come through properties all the time.
Yeah.
So which is a cool thing, but it's also like, I guess people forget about that.
Yeah. Yeah. True.
So,
yeah, mate. Unreal. And mate, last thing I always finish on, heading into 2024, any key tips or mindsets for buyers to finish the year on strong? Obviously, quarter one's done. Mate, any tips for buyers there?
Just buy.
Yeah.
No, I think just, again, get the right advice from the right people, because then that will determine if you're making the right decision or not. And you need to focus on your why. Why are you buying that property? What are you dissatisfied with? Are you buying your first project? Is this your 15th project? Be very clear on what you want to buy. And I think just go back to the same point, have the right people on your bus. So if you know what you want to buy, be clear on it, and don't get overwhelmed that you think you're paying too much. You've just got to buy the right property. So it doesn't matter if you're going to spend too much or you think you're getting a great deal, because 99% of the time people automatically think that, hey, if we're buying, it's all about getting a great deal. Yeah, it does help, but it's also what's important to you. And if something's very important to you, you're going to pay for it.
Yeah.
And you got to work at your long term.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
mate,
be
that's
prepared.
Unreal. Mate, where can people find you? Stay tuned. Like, sounds like you got a bit happening this year, mate. Where can we follow the journey?
On Instagram, it's probably
That's
easiest.
That's the best one, is it?
Yeah, Michael_Bacon, I think it is.
Love it.
So.
Love it. Mate, again, I've just reflected on our chat. Super insightful, mate. I think there's so many key pillars there that I think are going to add value, not only to buyers, but again, I think so many people want to do the flip and sell.
Yep.
Mate, you got his details. He's the man to chat around that. And mate, I'm really excited just to see what the next few chapters have in store for you, mate. So, mate,
100%.
thanks for jumping on.
Awesome. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it.
Legend.
Thanks.